This evening is a time to glorify you and learn more about you. Father, thank you for your son Jesus. It's in his name we pray. Amen. All right. Anybody guess what we're studying today? All right. So we've been doing this for a little while now. I think we probably at least got another month of angel study left, but we'll see.
It's been interesting.
We'll see. So today's going to be really interesting. So, anyhow.
You wouldn't lie to us, would you?
No, I wouldn't. I think that's a hint that I've been boring. I'm just joking. So, we're gonna a lot of text we're gonna go through this morning. I got a question for y'all though before we get started, just something to think about. And if y'all have thoughts on it, let's hear them. How has God communicated to people throughout history, throughout time? Like, can we think of different ways that God has actually spoken to man or worked with man directly outside of Jesus?
Through a bush.
Through a bush? Through a burning bush? Okay. Through dreams? Donkey? What did you? Prophets? Okay.
In the garden, face to face.
In the garden, face to face. Okay.
He inspired the Bible.
There is a written word, right? Anything else? Those are good.
He did it with others.
Did it with others?
Not necessarily what everybody said, but strangers.
Okay. So, it's good answers. And what I'm trying to do is draw out the point that God, He can communicate to us however He wants to. He's God. If He wants to do it through a burning bush, then He'll do it. If He wants to do it through a cloud and a pillar of fire when leading Israel, that He'll do it. Like, He can manifest Himself to us any way He chooses to. He's God. So we're going to talk about some of that today, right? We're going to read some scripture, and you can draw your own conclusions from it, but we've got some very interesting scripture to look at today. So we're going to talk about we're going to talk about a couple terms that you'll see in the text, and that's the three on the board right here. You'll see terms angel of the Lord, angel of God, and then there's a term also called captain of the Lord's army. Some translations say commander of the Lord's army. So we'll get to them and we'll read them and just think about those texts and see if there's anything we can learn from it. This can get downright complicated, to be honest with you. We'll try to keep it as simple as we can for today. This term, angel of the Lord, it's all over the Old Testament. It's about 60 times. If you get in your concordance and look it up, it's about 60 times in the Old Testament. So very interesting reading if you choose to go down that route. We're obviously not going to go through all 60 of the references because we would be here till 2024, right? If we break down every single one of those, but just want to make some quick points first. In the New Testament, I only throw this up here because I don't want to confuse the two terms. In the New Testament, you see text like this quite a bit. But after he had considered this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, "Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid." And this is, of course, about Jesus and Mary, and we all know that account. An angel of the Lord in the New Testament. This is talking about an angel of the Lord, like any angel, right? An angel of the Lord, almost like a child of God. Like, we shouldn't get too confused about this term in the New Testament because it seems to be used pretty simply to refer to different angels, okay? But we'll see in a minute, in the Old Testament, the term is used very different. You start seeing the angel of the Lord or the angel of God, seeming to point to a specific being or a specific entity or whatever you want to call it. Just some reminders about things about angels that we've talked about so far. This verse, I think I've put up here 3 or 4 times at this point. Revelation 22, and this is just John in Revelation, and he's talking about some of his interaction with this angel who's giving him details that he wrote down for us, right? And once again, this is not the angel of the Lord, this is an angel talking to John. But it tells us some things, like John fell down to worship at the feet of the angel, right? And how did the angel respond to that?
We have to do that.
From the text. He told him not to do it, right? So, you expected behavior, right, is for people to not worship angels, or for an angel to not accept worship if that actually happens. Okay? And I can just see this. I can just see this angel, like, I don't know, if this was me and somebody fell down at my feet, in my head I'd be like, you're not getting me in trouble with the man upstairs. Like, you're not getting me in trouble with the boss. Get up. I mean, that's human thought process, right? But angels, like, you must not do that. Worship God. That's who you're supposed to be worshiping. Angels fully understand who the boss is and who worship belongs to. So, what are some other things that we know about angels and their just like characteristics? They're powerful, right? They can show extraordinary power, but they're not all powerful. Same thing with knowledge. They know a whole lot more than we do, but they don't know everything. They're not all knowing. Angels were created a little higher than us, but they're still far from God himself. God is their creator too. So just keep those things in mind. Like, we have learned some things that we need to apply to these texts when we read them. So first one, we'll look at let's read some verses out of Genesis 16 real quick. And this is the account of Hagar. I think everybody is probably familiar with Abraham and Sarah and Hagar and Ishmael and all. I think everybody's fully aware of the text. But let's look at the angelic activity here. Verse 6. So Abram said to Sarai, indeed, your maid is in your hand. Do to her as you please. And when Sarai dealt harshly with her, she fled from her presence. Now the angel of the Lord found her by the spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on her way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, where have you come from and where are you going? She said, I'm fleeing from the presence of my mistress Sarai. And the angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit yourself under her hand. Then the angel of the Lord said to her, I will multiply your descendants exceedingly, so they shall not be counted for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said, behold, you are with child. You shall bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your affliction. He shall be a wild man. He shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him. He shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. Verse 13. Then she called the name of the Lord, who spoke to her, you are God who sees. For have I also seen him who sees me? And therefore the well was called Bir Lahai-Roi. Observe, it's between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abraham named his son, whom Hagar bore Ishmael. Abraham was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. So just let's stop for a second. So, who does Hagar think she sees in this text? Who does she think she's interacting with? So, she thinks she's she says, it says she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her, you are a God who sees. Right? So she thinks she's talking to some form of divine or deity. Right? You are a God who sees. What else do we see? What else can we kind of see from this text? I'll just draw some things out for you. This angel knows a lot of things. Like, it tells Hagar the future of her descendants. Right? It seems to have characteristics of like omniscience. Okay? It makes promises to Hagar about a specific future that will occur for her and her offspring. Hagar recognizes this as a God who sees. That's just some things that you can easily draw out of the text. We're going to read some more text and kind of do the same thing. once again, if you get this right or wrong, it's okay if we get this right or wrong, but it's just interesting to think about. All right, let's move on and do some more reading. But you can see this angel does not, when we see this angel of the Lord term, and you consider what it's doing, it doesn't necessarily act or behave like other angels that we've read about. There seems to be a lot more to it than your, I will say, standard old angel. Okay. I don't know why that kills me when I say that, but it just does. All right. Another account here. I think we got like 4 of them, so I gotta watch the clock. Genesis 22, Abraham. We all know the account of Abraham and Isaac, right? When Abraham is told to sacrifice his son, go up on Mount Moriah. Let's read a couple verses here real quick. Now it came about after these things, and this is Genesis 22, verse 1. Now it came about after these things that God tested Abraham and said, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. Then he said, Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains which I will tell you. Who's asking Abraham here? We're gonna fast forward a little bit here in a second. Who is asking Abraham to take their son? God, right? All right. Let's fast forward a couple verses. Verse 11. Now, the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. Now we're talking about angel of the Lord. And he said, Here I am. He said, Do not lay your hand on the boy or do anything to him. For now I know that you fear God, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, behold, behind him was a ram caught in a thicket by its horns. Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up as a burnt offering instead of his son. Abraham called the name of that place, The Lord Will Provide. As it is said on this day, on the mount of the Lord it shall be provided. So it's confusing, ain't it? Confusing. And like I said, it can get downright complicated when you're trying to consider this. So this angel of the Lord. My thoughts on this. My thoughts on this, right? The angel of the Lord seems to be there's either one or two things going on here, right? That God has a very specific angel who directly relays His will to mankind, or God is kind of manifesting Himself in angelic form to directly work with people. That's my two conclusions about what's going on here. One of those two things. But this term, it seems to be used interchangeably when God is directly talking to man in the Old Testament. So God asked Abraham to sacrifice Isaac, right? That's clear. Then a couple verses down, you see that angel of the Lord stopping him. But this angel of the Lord says, you have not withheld your son from me. Who withheld your son from who? The angel or from God? You know, you got to connect some dots with the text and think about it. This angel seems to be it's either the closest angel ever created to God, or it's God Himself in angelic form working with man. It's just interesting. It's interesting. All right, let's look at another. Got a couple more to consider. All right, Jacob, and these are all texts we know, and it's also interesting that in big important Old Testament events, this is where you start seeing this term angel of the Lord pop up. When God needs something to happen, when He needs like His plan to move forward, things like that. That's when you see that name pop up. Genesis 28. Jacob and Esau. Everybody knows the account. It's one that's very familiar to us. Here in verse 12, Jacob's pretty much out of the house. He's already took the inheritance from Esau, and he's out. He's out on his own. Verse 12. So, and he dreamed, and behold, there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it. And He said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you and your offspring. Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in you and your offspring all the families of the earth will be blessed. All right, so think about what Jacob's seeing right here, right? He's seeing, it says, and behold, angels of God were ascending and descending on it. Okay, angels, right? And then who does Jacob see above the angels? He sees God. He sees the Lord. And it's not even in question who he sees, because he said, I am the Lord, God of Abraham, your father, and God of Isaac. It's very specific, right? And then Jacob goes out, right? God reaffirms his promises to Abraham here. Jacob goes out. Verse 18, early in the morning, Jacob took the stone that he had put under his head. He set it up for a pillar. He poured oil on top of it. He called the name of that place Bethel. But the name of the city was Luz at first. So Jacob's heard from God. He goes out and he sets up a pillar. This is for God. He's doing this for God, right? We're gonna jump over to Genesis 31, but remember, Jacob has this dream, angels, he sees the God, it's God, and then he sets up basically a pillar to God. All right. Well, now Genesis 31. This is many, many years later in Jacob's life. This is when Jacob is, he's working for Laban. Everybody remember that guy? The bad character, Laban. Or he seems like he's a bad character anyway. Verse 11, Genesis 31. Then the angel of God said to me in a dream, Jacob. And I said, here I am. And he said, lift up your eyes and see all the goats that mate with the flock, that are striped and spotted or mottled. For I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and made a vow to me. Now arise, go out from this land, and return to the land of your kindred. So here you have the term angel of God, right? In the text, the angel of God identifies itself as I am the God of Bethel. Right? What happened at Bethel? Well, that's where Jacob had his dream, and he's seen the angels, and he's seen the Lord, who said, I'm the God of I'm the God of your fathers, Abraham and Isaac, right? So this right here, you have words angel of God, but it identifies itself. Basically, it's God himself. I am the God of Bethel. And that's the God of, right here, just go back. He called the name of that place Bethel, right? And just go back a little more, right? I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, God of Isaac. Very much seems like God is talking directly to Jacob in angelic form here. And I think the why that might be something he does here in a minute. This is one of those topics we don't talk about much, by the way, too, and I understand why.
Well, he is not to be seen, so maybe he had to come in an angelic form so he would not be seen.
Yeah, exactly. All right. We're gonna read Exodus 3 right here. I think Kevin mentioned this a minute ago, burning bush, right? When I said many different ways God appears to people. Exodus 3, verse 1. Now Moses was keeping the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. And he led his flock to the west side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of the bush. So don't miss that right there. The angel of the Lord appeared in him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. Because when you go on to read the text, you'll lose that angel piece if you keep reading it, because it goes on to talk a lot about how God's just specifically talking and working through Moses. But this is the angel of the Lord, right? That's how it's introduced into the text. Is it possible that there's an angel operating as somewhat of God's receptionist, getting Moses' attention and then getting out of the way? Sure, there is. I think in context of everything else we read, though, it's probably not the case. Angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of the bush. And look, He looked, and behold, the bush was burning, yet it was not consumed. And Moses said, I will turn aside to see this great sight, why the bush is not burning. When the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called out to him out of the bush, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. Who's calling out to him? God. Yeah. It seems to somewhat use these terms interchangeably. That's the thing. We'll keep reading. Then he said, Do not come near. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. And he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. And the Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I've heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I'm concerned about their suffering. Right? I'll just keep reading, and then we'll talk a little about this text. So I've come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of the land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now go, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, bring the Israelites out of Egypt? And God said, I will be with you, and this will be a sign to you, that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. Moses said to God, Suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, The God of your fathers has sent me. And they ask me, What is his name? What shall I tell them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to Israelites. I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, Say to the Israelites that the Lord, the God of your fathers, God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever. The name you shall call me from generation to generation. And we just read through that real quick. But I want to consider some things out of this text. Remember how it was introduced, right? The angel of the Lord in front of the bush. That's the thing. So, who do you have talking to Moses in the rest of the text? It's God Himself, right? It's no doubt about it. God is directly talking and communicating with Moses here. So here's some things once again to draw out of the text. What's going on here? The angel of the Lord's here, right? It seems to be used interchangeably. All right. So characteristics of God. That's what I want to draw out of this text. Identifies as God, right? Definitely in this text. If we weren't told at the beginning this was an angel, we wouldn't even know it. But we're told at the very beginning. The rest of the narrative shows him speaking directly to God, recognized as God, right? Moses turns his face away. He hid his face because he didn't want to look upon him. Demands worship. Remove your sandals from your feet. Angel tells Moses that he's heard the cries of Egypt. The angel knows the future. He will use Moses to deliver his people. Angel promises to display his power in Egypt, right? Which is odd because that angel would be speaking on his own authority if it weren't God Himself. When Moses expresses doubt, angel promises to be with him. And then also you have the identity of God, the very name of God in the text, which is actually something quite amazing. That's where you get that thing we call the Tetragrammaton, YHWH. That's where it's brought up in the Bible, right here in this account of Moses. No doubt about it, God is there speaking to Moses from within this bush. Something we want to consider, though, is Moses actually seeing the real God, like all of God, like the true God, or is he seeing some form of God, right? And that's something that we need to think about. I'm going to show you one more text and we'll go back to Moses in just a second. Joshua 5. And here's another term for you. Joshua 5:13. Now it came about when Joshua was by Jericho, he raised his eyes and looked, and behold, a man was standing opposite him with a sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went to him and he said, "Are you for us or for our enemies?" He said, "No, rather I have come as captain of the Lord." And Joshua fell on his face to the ground and bowed down and said to him, "What has my Lord to say to his servant?" And the captain of the Lord's army said to Joshua, "Remove your sandals from your feet, for the place where you're standing is holy." And Joshua did. So this interesting text right here. So who is this talking with Joshua? Right? So we seen earlier how, and we've talked about it a few times, angels, will they accept worship? Well, let's start. What's the definition of worship in the Old Testament? Does anybody know it? Like, what does it mean? It literally means face down on the ground, prostrate on the ground. That's the very literal definition of worship in the Old Testament. Bow down, face on the ground. Some of your different translations of the Bible will actually say worship right here. But this is the definition of worship: face to the ground and bow down. Right? So Joshua, whatever this is right here, Joshua's worshiping it down on the ground, and it has no problem with it. That's the thing. If this is a true angel, it's going to tell Joshua, get up. You're not allowed to worship me. Remove your sandals from your feet. The place where you are standing is holy. You don't see this very much in the Bible, do we? You don't see that very much in the Bible. See, remove those sandals from your feet in a couple places, like in the tabernacle, in the temple, at the burning bush. Right? Yeah, it's another text where it appears that there's more going on than your standard like angelic activity with Joshua. All right, and I know I'm over out of time, but let's talk about like why might God have to use different ways or different means to talk to people or to communicate with people. Let's get back to Moses for a minute, because I think Moses kind of illustrates this in the text pretty beautifully, honestly. Exodus 33. The Lord said to Moses, "Depart from here." Oh, context, right? Context. This is prior golden calf. This is post golden calf. Post golden calf, Israel messes up. They mess up a lot early on. We like to poke at Israel, but they mess up a lot early on, just like we mess up. We ain't no different. But they messed up. The Lord's telling Moses, he says, "Depart, go up from here, you and the people whom you brought out of the land of Egypt, to the land which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, to your offspring I will give it. I'll send an angel before you, and I'll drive out the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Go up to a land flowing with milk and honey, but I will not go up among you, lest I consume you on the way, for you are a stiff-necked people." In short, God's telling Moses to pack it up and get out of here. You need to get moving. I ain't going with you, though. That's what God says. I ain't going with you. I'll send an angel with you, but I ain't going, or I'm going to consume you. That's in short, that's what God tells him, right? And I'll give Moses props. He seems to be very direct with God sometimes. Verse 15, Moses said to him, "If your presence does not go with us, don't send us up from here. How will anyone know that you are pleased with me and with your people unless you go with us? What else will distinguish me and your people from all the other people on the face of the earth?" So God, I find it interesting. God's like, you're still my people. I'm still going to take care of you. I'm going to send an angel with you, right? And Moses is like, that's not good enough. He's like, I want you to go with us. Really, that's what Moses is saying. I don't want an angel. I want you. If you don't go with us, don't even send us up out of here. That's what's going on here. Verse 17. And the Lord said to Moses, "The very thing that you have spoken I will do for you have found favor in my sight, and I know you by name." So it's amazing that God just grants these requests for Moses. And Moses goes even further. Moses said, "Please show me your glory." And he said, I will make all of my goodness pass before you and proclaim before you my name, the Lord. And I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious and show mercy on whom I will show mercy. It's pretty amazing that God's like, okay, all right, Moses, you're going to get what you asked for. But we learned something about God here. And Dolores kind of pointed at it a second ago, right? Verse 20. This is God talking to Moses, but he said, you cannot see my face, for man shall not see me and live. Right? So in that statement from God, in your physical form, you will never be allowed to see the face of God as a physical, living, breathing human. That's for after. That's for spiritual life. Right? You cannot see my face, for man shall not see me and live. And the Lord said, behold, there is a place by me where you shall stand on the rock, and while my glory passes by, I'll put you in the cleft of the rock. And I'll cover you with my hand until I've passed by. Then I will take away my hand, and you shall see my back, but my face shall not be seen. Let's read a little bit more. Let's jump over a little bit, because it actually happens. They're talking about this stuff, and then God actually does this. Anyhow, in Exodus 34, this is Moses is coming back down, and it talks about some very real impacts that have happened to Moses, right? When Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of testimony in his hand, as he came down the mountain, Moses did not know that his skin of his face shone, because he had been talking with God. Aaron and all of the people of Israel saw Moses, and behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come near him. Moses just caught a glimpse of God, like the backside of God, right? Just a little bit. But just that little bit was enough that it changed Moses. This ain't glistening skin, right? This ain't like oily skin. Like, Moses' face is shining to the extent that people don't want to come near him no more. If you keep reading the text, he actually has to put a veil over his face when he's talking to people, so people just won't run off from him. And that was some very real impact of Moses by seeing and talking with God. And it goes along with God's comment, you shall not see my face and live, right? I don't think our physical bodies could withstand actually seeing God. So if God's going to communicate with us directly, how's he got to do it? He's got to temper himself. He's got to do it in a way that won't kill us, that won't take us out. And you see that in numerous ways throughout the Bible. A cloud, fire. Abraham's account in what's known as that bloody animal covenant. You see a flaming torch and a smoking pot, right? That we understand to be a representation of God. Talks about him appearing to Elijah as a whisperer in dreams. Smoke descending. We've learned about this stuff over the years. In the tent of meeting, smoke descending, and in talking to Moses, the mountain, smoke descending, and thunder and lightning, hear the voice of God. He has to use all sorts of different means to talk to people. If God just said, all right, I'm going to show you it in my fullness, but well, we're all done. So I think that's the why behind why God uses other means. So God can communicate with us. He did in the Old Testament for sure, and not kill us, and we can go on with his direction. So, interesting note for you to think about with this. This angel of the Lord, angel of God, Old Testament. It does not mention once in the New Testament, not one time. It's all over the Old Testament, and it doesn't come up once. Once you flip that page over to the New Testament, gone. Why might that be?
Jesus is there.
Jesus is there, right? Jesus was there. He's exactly right. Does God need to go to all these extravagant means to talk with man? No, his son's here, right? That's exactly right. last verse I got for y'all today. Just kind of wrap up this thought, right? Hebrews 1. God, after he spoke long ago to the fathers and the prophets in many portions, in many ways. I mean, the writer's telling you that God spoke to the fathers in many portions, in many different ways. Like I said, God, he can use whatever way he wants to. If he needs to use smoke, he'll use smoke. If he needs to use an angelic representation, he'll do it. In these last days, he's spoken to us in his Son, which goes to what John said, right? Spoken to us in his Son. So, you see, all throughout the Old Testament, God uses whatever means he wants to get his message across. But in the New Testament, it's through Jesus. And you don't see no more of that. This angel of God, angel of the Lord, though, study. You learn more about God by some of those passages. That's the thing. It's actually, if you understand that as God, right, you can see that God didn't just abandon us. Like he didn't just kick us out of the garden and leave us. Throughout thousands of years, he went through extraordinary means to talk directly to people still, through angel of the Lord, angel of God, things like that, through prophets. But yeah, it's interesting. So you kind of got to forget what you think you know about those texts sometimes, and start from scratch, because this ain't one that I've sat in a Bible study and actually heard before, right? But when you can see things like all-knowing, all-powerful, predicting the future, this ain't standard angel activity, all right? And y'all can believe whatever you want on it. My understanding is it's God talking directly through people. For like reading for y'all, we're not gonna have Bible study next week. It's gonna be service only. But if you have a concordance, search that term, angel of the Lord, and do some reading about it. The context will tell you. You'll see the text kind of use it interchangeably sometimes between God and the angel of the Lord. Sometimes you'll see the angel identify itself as God. It's interesting. Do some studying about it. About 60 times, but it can teach you more about your Creator if you read those references. Make some notes about it and see the extreme measures God went to talk to us. All right, y'all got any questions? That's it for me.
No, I don't have any.